ability to remove Andromeda from the rock, from the chains, and from the being chained to the rock, right? So she was chained to the rock. That's another like indicator of petrification, right? She was chained to sit there and be devoured by the feminine energy, right? To be destroyed by it. To sacrifice herself for the kingdom of Wales, right? The Cetus monster, so that the Cetus monster could maintain its authority over the earth, right? And so, what else did I want to say about that? Yeah, so the masculine energy comes online within the feminine. This can be a physical thing, or it's both. I believe it's both. It's both a physical thing within your actual alchemy of your body and the storyline and everything, the corresponding environment as well. But then it's also it's not just all metaphors. It's literal physical actions of beings playing the same thing out on the earth, right? So everything we do is a reflection of these stories here, on these mythological stories that are alchemy. We are the alchemy in action. We're that formula, doing what it's doing and then retelling the story through our actions. And so, yeah, Andromeda and Medusa are the same being. I've kind of like made articles about this, or I've wrote articles about this, about how their processes in the steps of removing the foundational, loosening the foundational qualities of the venting, like letting the air and the fire through the temple, the structure of the petrification of the feminine energy. To that venting is the masculine energy coming in and making the structure insecure. There's actually I put it in my last video about the venting, about the wind tunnel, right? And how I had put up I'm sorry, I'm having brain fog right now. I had put a picture of something I found about Petra versus Petros, which is like Petros. The definition was an insecure rock, right? Or insecure stone that can move around, a rolling stone, right? So the masculine's job is to create insecurity within the structure, to make the structure have mobility, to put holes in the structure so that he can blow his wind through it, right? Because without those holes, then it's just an empty block that cannot receive messages, right? And the sound is the messages coming through the windpipe, or coming through the vessel, right? And I also made some, and I just wrote something about that, about a Mayan pipe or a flute, that is similar to what I'm talking about as far as the alchemy goes. It's like the same kind of situation here. And so, the masculine's job is to create instability within the structure so that the structure can be torn down and that the temple can be rebuilt, or the storyline can be rebuilt, and remade into something more harmonious for not just certain people, but for the people that have become the sacrifice within the story. So we're no longer sacrificing the happiness of the people within the story that were supposed to represent alchemically the security of this place, the security of the dream that, number one, messing with the knowledge of everything, right? And messing with everything so that the structure can remain, so that the sun never sets on the kingdom, right? That's what they say about the UK. The sun never sets on the kingdom of the British Empire, right? It never sets on the British Empire because they put these things in place to implement the jealous god, or the god of congealment, to be able to kind of I guess, block the masculine energy so that everybody shows up as petrified. Everybody shows up as feminine. For locks, everybody's locks and blocks instead of there being any like vent. There's no air, there's nothing coming through. There's no messages coming through because nobody's drilling holes in the structure. So they're reinforcing the feminine energy instead of like allowing there to be a vent through to allow this energy to alchemize and change us, right? And so what's coming through is truth, right? The word. And that's what Perseus's job alchemically in the story is about. It's about allowing for the masculine energy to pick up the structure and move it or translate it, because that's why Perseus is given the shoes of Hermes, because Hermes is the healer. He has the Caduceus staff, which is the medical staff. He represents translating or moving, transferring one thing to another, or taking matter from one place to another. Right, so this is the act of a funnel or a tunnel, okay? And so, that's what he becomes in the story, for the feminine energy that has become completely petrified. But he uses the petrification somehow against the kingdom. And that allows for him to become the top masculine, because he have to remove the false masculine who's showing up as feminine energy, because he's too rigid, right? He represents too much feminine energy and not enough the venting of the truth, because he reinforces the lies. He reinforces the false energy, the false narratives in the false history, false science, all these false things. And that would represent like the Kingdom of Wales, right? Metaphorically, that would represent like the King Charles and all these people who, in these Masonic lodges. Lodge is like a block, right? A lodge in the throat is the pharaoh, right? And the pharaoh blocks the throat or the pipes. He blocks the windpipes from receiving the messages from Mercury or Hermes, okay, the messenger god. And so, the Perseus character debilitates the false masculine, okay? Because now he solely represents the masculine energy in its most truest form. And when he petrifies the false masculine is unable to stop him from representing the masculine energy, right? And so I guess that's where that comes from, or that's what that's supposed to represent, right? And so this frees Andromeda. Also, Medusa becomes Pegasus, which is also represents air or the wings. Okay? So that has to be alchemized first. See, the masculine cannot approach the feminine until the kingdom is destroyed. Then he can free the feminine from representing strictly feminine energy, because she's been put in this like prison-like energy, right? Which is to be not be mobile, to just represent pure in its purest form, pure petrification and nothing else. That's all she's supposed to represent. She's not allowed to be given any kind of masculinity or masculine motivation or movement or anything that masculinity represents, because that destabilizes her. And so, yeah, the kingdom has to fall first. And then comes the restructuring, because the temple has to be brought down, right? The temple has to fall. And then with that is the freedom of the feminine, who represents that rigidity that has been chained up. Okay, so it can't happen before that. So this is the story unfolding, right? Okay, that's all I gotta say.